From the advertising media capital of the world, New Milford, Connecticut, wherever that is. This is Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Now, here's your host, Matt Wilson.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, podcast all about automotive marketing. Mostly. It's right there in the title. Listen, I know there's another podcast. There's lots of other podcasts in our industry. In fact, I think the Automotive State of the Union dudes are rolling something live right now. But I tell you what, there's enough content to listen to both. You know, you can listen live, you can listen in podcast form after the fact. And I just want to say that I promise that this will be informative and helpful for some and maybe a little entertaining. I am a 15-year radio professional. And this is fun. It's been a while since I've done a Mostly Automotive Marketing episode. Some of you may know, most of you probably don't know, my wife passed away about 7 months ago. And obviously I stopped doing podcast episodes when she went to hospice late last year. And it's been difficult to be motivated to record episodes since then. Then, over the summer, I filled in a little bit on a local rock station morning show, the I-95 morning show, place I used to work at forever. And I filled in a little bit and I had so much fun. It was great to be back doing live radio. Filled in for my dad and did the show with a buddy of mine. And so I thought, oh, you know what? That's over. Let me just start doing the podcast again. It will fulfill my need to do some broadcasting. And I had originally started to do some live shows last year, or earlier in the year. But with, visiting the hospital and chemo treatment for my wife and in and out of the hospital, it was hard to commit to being home and in my office every Friday. But I can do it now. Kids are in school. It's 9:30. I'm home. I'm ready to go. I'll do the podcast, get to work. So I figured, what the heck? So here we are on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, the live version. We're doing it live.
We'll do it live.
Remember this?
We'll do it live.
You remember when Bill O'Reilly freaked out?
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
What a nice guy. Anyway, we begin today with kind of a trend I've noticed on LinkedIn, kind of alerting me to the fact that apparently it's job hopping season. I did not know it was job hopping season, but I've noticed on LinkedIn that a lot of people seem to be hopping jobs, right? You see a lot of the, I am excited to announce I am starting my new job at so-and-so. And I had a great time at my last job. And thank you for everything they did for me, but I will be starting a new position at blah, blah, blah. And I have been seeing an absolute lot of that over the last 2 weeks. I didn't know that this was a time of year that was known for job hopping, but I've been on LinkedIn and seeing a lot of it. And so maybe it's the season. I don't know. But I got to say, and I'm all for bettering yourself and getting a new job, learning new skills, making more money, finding a situation that's better for you. But I do caution against too much job hopping. I'm not an HR person, but I have, had staffs before and hired people. And I personally, when I look at someone's resume, am not a huge fan of jumpers. You're here for a year, you're there for a year and a half, you're here for 2 years, you're at this dealership for a year, you're at an agency for a year, you're back here for 2.5 years, then you're there for 6 months. Like, I don't love that. I interpret that as a person that's hard to make happy, a person that may make a move for money, or a person who can't resolve conflict. Like, they get to a job, they don't like their boss, they don't like a supervisor, they don't like a coworker. And instead of being able to work through that or make positive change, they just say, I'm going somewhere else, and they leave. Someone maybe who hops around a lot. And I don't love that, because is that the kind of person that I want to have working for me? I'm not going to invest time in training somebody, getting somebody to learn my company's way of doing things and systems and getting them through payroll and insurance and all that stuff, only to find out that they get offered a job that pays $5,000 more a year and they leave 11 months into the job. It's a waste of my time. Doesn't look good on their resume. So I'm all for the job hopping that we're seeing on LinkedIn. Better yourselves, but I want to say the grass is not always greener. You just don't go somewhere for the sake of going somewhere. Think about the situation you're in. Put a lot of time and effort into deciding if you're going to leave your job. And my job switches, I have always, it's not just is the job right for you? It's not just are you right for the job, it's is the job right for you? Is the company right for you? Is the responsibilities right for you? Is the location right? Are the hours right? There's a lot of things to consider. As an example, I interviewed for a job once at an auto group as a marketing person for two BMW stores. And I could tell within 20 minutes of the interview that like I wasn't vibing with the owner, the general manager. I can't remember exactly who he was, but I knew we weren't vibing together. I could just tell that we weren't clicking. He showed me the marketing plan and I thought, oh, it's a good plan. I could make some improvements and some changes to this. It looks like I'd have the resources and the budget to do a good job and have the staff. And a lot of things about the job would have been right. And I wanted to leave where I was. I'd been there for 7 years and we were part of a group and it was time for me to make a move. And I could have just taken that job at that BMW group, but it didn't feel right. It didn't. I just didn't jive. I could see me not enjoying working for the owner. Would I have been good at it? Yes. Could I made positive impact there? I believe so. But I don't feel like it was just, there was something that wasn't, I would have done it for the sake of doing it. And the grass is not always greener. So I didn't do it. So before you make a move, make sure you look at all the possible outcomes. But that being said, also make sure you're aware of what's going on around you, right? Like when I got out of radio, I worked in radio for 15 years. I worked at Cumulus before it was Cumulus. Then I worked at Cumulus. Then I worked for Clear Channel, iHeartRadio. They changed their name and thought that would eliminate the $80 billion in debt they have. I don't know what the actual amount is, but I know they didn't. I know they were in debt. And I worked for Clear Channel and iHeart, and right before it became iHeart, and they were laying off people in small markets because they were $8 zillion in debt. And like, how can we save money? Be better or lay people off? I'll lay people off. So they laid a bunch of people off. I did not get laid off, but I did have to take on the responsibility of some of the people who did get laid off. Someone's got to do the work. And they say, well, these people are just lucky to have jobs. So we will give them some of the work. We're not going to give them more money, but we'll give them some of the work. And I thought, it's time to get out of here before A, I get taken advantage of more, or B, I get caught up in the next round of layoffs. And I was done with radio, but I was very methodical in deciding where to go. In fact, it took 9 weeks from the time I started talking to somebody about my next job and the time that I took the next job. And I invented the job. The job didn't exist. I knew what I wanted to do, and I found somebody that would let me do it. And I invented the job, made the job description, approached the dealer, the automotive dealer about it. This is before I became marketing director at a Nissan store, and invented the job that I wanted and the salary that I wanted. Rewind years and years and years, I did the same thing. I wanted a job at the radio station. It wasn't a job that existed. I noticed an issue that I thought a new position could solve, and I did the same thing. I created a job description with the general manager and said, hey, listen, you could fix these things by hiring me to do A, B, and C and paying me to do it. And I invented that job as well. So the moral of the story is, do what you want to do. You don't have to jump just for the sake of jumping. The grass is not always the grass is not always greener. You know what I'm saying? All right. Next up on the podcast, let us read. I'm going to read a review that was left on the Google review page. We're on. All right. We had a little power surge. Why does that always happen? It's just a way. I love live. This is why live is fun.
We'll do it live.
Right?
Okay.
This is why live is fun, because that's how stuff happens. All right. Anyway. Are we on live? We're on live. We're counting down. We're recording. We're good. Okay. So I'm going to read a review that was left for a dealership. And then I'm going to read the dealership's response and we're going to talk about it. Okay. So the review says, I love Jeeps. I currently own my third, bought it 1 year ago. I'm a huge fan of the brand. However, I wouldn't buy another Jeep if this place was the last dealership on earth. The general manager, Sal, is a dishonest manipulator. They'll tell you what you want to hear and then browbeat you until you accept their terms. I wasted 3 hours in this place negotiating, in quotes, with this guy until he yelled at me for not agreeing to their terms. I left, called another dealership that met my terms over the phone, and drove home with my new Grand Cherokee L Limited that afternoon. Save yourself the trouble and don't get tricked and go somewhere else, anywhere else. I meant to write this review last year, but was having too much fun driving around in my new Jeep. So the response from the owner is, we're sorry, but we don't have a record of your visit. Please reach out to us at customer service at blah, 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 blah.com with further information so we can investigate this thoroughly. Now, I will tell you, the dealer's response is bullshit. And the reason is, I wrote the review. That was my experience at a Jeep dealership. Kind of local to me. Now, there's two possible reasons that they don't have a record of my visit. One, they were too disorganized to write down my information and put it in the CRM. I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody using a CRM, the salesperson. Or two, they're lying, trying to get out of and discredit the review about them, which was a very true, very honest experience. My wife was there with me. I've told the story to many people. I recorded a past podcast about it. If you want to go check it out, I don't know what it's called, and I don't know when I recorded it, but you can check it out somewhere on a podcast page where I went through all the details of it. And really, the simple way that the dealer could have avoided my review is by treating me better. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous treatment by a dealership. The general manager literally confronted me in the hallway as I was getting a glass of water. And I said, are there any cups around here so I can drink some of this water? And he said, I don't know. You're going to buy a Jeep today? And I was like, I don't know. I told you when I got here what Jeep I wanted, what it cost, and what I wanted to pay. He said, well, I've been given and given and given from initial proposal, and you haven't given an inch. I said, I shouldn't have to give an inch. You should just say no and go on with our day. He said, wasted my time on a Saturday, and then walked away from me. I said, you can't yell at me. I'm the customer. Yes, I can. And then he turned around and walked away. And so I said a little bit loudly in the showroom, this guy's a dick. Went over to my wife and said, let's go. Called another dealership, bought a Jeep 90 minutes later. You know, the guy wanted my business. He could have treated me better. But you can't yell at a customer in the showroom. I told you when I walked in what I wanted. And you fought with me the whole time to overpay for this vehicle that I didn't want to pay for. I just didn't want to do it. Like, it's not rocket science. And I get it. Like, the review online is a bad review and they're trying to discredit the review. All right, I get it. But like, either they don't have a record of it because they didn't write it down in their CRM, which is bad process, or they're just trying to get out of it, which, all right, fine. You're trying to defend your reputation or whatever, but it's ridiculous. It's not right. But what are you going to do? There's still some dealers like that in the country. I'm all about, let's get better together. Let's be positive. Let's elevate our industry. I'm all about it. But the reality is there's some dealers that do not care about elevating our industry or about changing our the way we're doing things. They just want to make some money and go home. And that's okay too. I get it. But still, it can't all be positivity and puppy dogs when you still have dealers that are, you know, sort of just, they just don't They just don't care. Let's take a commercial break, and then we'll come back on a live version of Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
If you're thinking about starting your own podcast, let me tell you about Anchor. Not like the anchor that comes off a boat that helps the boat stay in place by like landing on the bottom of a lake or an ocean. Anchor, as in the platform that helps make your podcast easy. Anchor is owned by Spotify, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. So you record it, you put it on the Anchor, and then they blast it out to all the platforms people use to listen to podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all them other ones. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. And you know the old saying, if it's free, it's for me. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is anchor.fm to get started. All right, we are back on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Recently I've been shopping a couple times, and I went to a few places where somebody had the opportunity to sell me something rather expensive, and they totally blew it. And I want to talk about those examples and how these places could have done better and sold me something. And I'm going to bring on a friend now on the phone. Joining me on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson is automotive industry veteran and friend David Stalvey. Good morning, Dave.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello, sir. Thank you for joining me on this very historic live episode. I appreciate it.
I'm sure all of the millions of listeners out there in the world are very interested in this next topic about sales.
I feel like that was a little bit of sarcasm there, but I can't be sure.
You never know.
All right, let me tell a couple quick stories here, and then we'll talk about them. And I've probably told you these off of the air before, but pretend like it's the first time you are hearing them. I went to, probably a year or two ago, I went to a local bike shop that I believe is not in business anymore. But I went to a local bike shop because I wanted to buy a mountain bike. And I walked in and I said, hey, I'm thinking about, I used to service my bike there, my department store bike. So I thought I'll go to this guy when it's time to buy a bike. So I go in and I say, hey, man, I've been thinking about getting a new bike. And I'm interested in a Trek Marlin 5. And he says, we don't carry Trek, we carry Specialized, which is a different mountain bike brand. And I said, oh, okay. And then I waited. And then that was the end of the conversation. He didn't try and tell me about a Specialized, about how it compares to the bike that I said I was interested in, about why I should consider a Specialized over a Trek. That was it. And I kind of was like, okay. Like I knew what bike I wanted, but I could have been swayed to buy another brand. I didn't research Specialized brand. I researched only Trek. Maybe Specialized is better, but he made zero effort to sell me a Specialized bike. Another example would be a recreational type store around us in the Danbury area. And I went in there to ask about a boat. Sea-Doo has new pontoon boats out, and I'm a boat guy, and I wanted to see it in person. I wasn't going to buy a boat immediately. But that being said, I may have been able to be talked into it at the time. I've researched the boat a lot. I really like it, but I've never seen it in person. I wanted to touch it, tap on it, see it in person. So I went there, waited around for 10 minutes for a salesperson to approach me. And they said, oh, we only have one that's already sold, but you can look at it in the back. I said, okay, that's fine. So the saleswoman walked me to the back, said, here it is. This is the Sea-Doo Switch, 21 foot, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, cool. And then she walked away. She didn't attempt to get my name, didn't want to get my information, didn't want to tell me we don't have any more, but we'll be getting some soon. Didn't make any effort to get my info so she could follow up with me. And I could probably buy one of those boats at some point, but she made zero effort to sell me one. So in those two examples, Dave, let's start with the bike store. What could he have done? I think you know the guy in the place I'm talking about. What could he have done to try and get me off of Trek and into Specialized?
I mean, the first thing is walk the customer to the product. And it's, that story always bothered me because not only is he the sales guy, he's the owner of the business.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're the owner and the only sales representative and all you have to sell is Specialized and somebody asks about Trek, you completely ignore the comment about Trek and you just move them right to the Specialized. The two most powerful words in sales, follow me. Just, hey, Matt, follow me. And I'm walking you right to the Specialized. And I'm going to tell you about the 10-speed bike and how it shifts smooth and how when you're going downhill and when you're going, whatever it is that about that bike that might be identical to the Trek, but I'm going to sell you on the features of the bike as we're walking towards the bike. Then I'm going to sit you on the bike. How's that feel? Comfortable? Let me adjust the seat for you. Oh, you need the 52 centimeter? I got you. Don't worry about it. I can fix it in the back. We can do it all here on site. I'm the owner. I'm also a bike enthusiast myself. I mean, there were so many missed opportunities in that. Not just for where you can go back and say, we got to train our sales staff better. You can't train an owner, right?
No,
I mean, he's the owner. He's the guy writing the checks for the business.
Yeah, and even if let's say he does that, and I'm still like, no, I like Special. I don't, I think the Trek was better. Here's why I like it better. Then he could.
Based on what?
Yeah, based on what? But what about the used option? Well, because they do. If you're really in on Trek, occasionally we get a used Trek or a trade-in Trek. Would you like me to keep an eye out on that for you? Can I get your number if I get one? Like as the last ditch before you walk out the door, maybe I can help you with that. If it just to at least engage me as like, all right, well, it's a reason to keep in touch with that guy, And then, go ahead.
There's a story that I was told in a sales conference once about a furniture store business owner. And when when Home Depot started getting big and Lowe's started getting big and you had all these one-stop shops, right? And you had places where you could kind of go and do a lot of stuff for your house. This guy only sold furniture. That was it. But people would come in and say, I want a living room set. I want a big screen TV. I want a washer and dryer. I want this. And he would just walk them to the furniture. He's like, look, I don't have TVs. I don't have washers and dryers. I don't have kitchen appliances. I don't do countertops. But I know you need a new couch. I know that couch that your wife has had sitting in that living room has been bothering her. And the new trend right now is a white couch, and you guys have a red couch. So let me show you what we got in the white couch. They might not have even walked in for a white couch, but they were walking out with a product because that's what he had to offer the customer at that particular time.
Yeah, that's creative. You know what? If they're doing a renovation or they're buying a new appliance, then they've been thinking about other things in their house as well. So maybe you tap into that, even though that's not what they were thinking about when they walked into your store.
I liken a lot of this stuff to some of the issues that we're facing are post-COVID issues, and that is not a car business specific issue. That is a national issue where salespeople don't really have to be super great salespeople right now to make a sale. When someone walks in and you have very limited supply and you have very high demand for your product and you're able to have a very good profit margin, there's really not a whole lot of motivation to give a great product presentation, to switch the customer, to chase the deal, because it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's not forget, this isn't always going to be easy. This is sales. You're going to have to learn your product, understand the cues, follow people's body language, understand buying questions, explain to the customer what you offer that they can't get elsewhere, which 9 times out of 10 is you as the salesperson.
Yeah.
Look, a guy can walk into any store and factory order a car, right? Because everybody walks in, I don't have it in stock, but I can factory order it, right? Anybody can do that. But the guy that gets the order and sells the aftermarket products is the guy that actually knows the product, that shows a valid interest in the consumer, and helps them with their process.
What about my example for, I don't want to say the name of the store, but it rhymes with Lowry Glower Dorts. And in their situation, I believe that she could have said, listen, these boats are on back order. They're hard to come by. We're not going to have one until March of 2023. Can I get your name and phone number? And then call me when they get it. Zero effort on her part it could have taken to do that. And so instead I go on the Sea-Doo national website and I look at the one I want. I build my own. I fill out the form, and I'm in automotive. I know how it works. It's a lead form. It goes to the closest dealer. It ends up in their CRM. The Sea-Doo website, Sea-Doo National or Sea-Doo Northeast website tells me who the dealer is. I never heard from anybody. Nobody from corporate Sea-Doo, nobody from the local store that sells Sea-Doo. Nobody. I didn't hear from one person. And I legit am interested in that boat. Is that insane?
Well, I hear two things in that conversation. I hear, number one, company culture, right? And it starts at the top. So if the manufacturer's culture is not centered around that and it doesn't trickle down to the dealer principal, to the salespeople, that's a completely separate issue that you've already addressed on several other podcasts about company culture. Number two, what I hear is you have a salesperson that probably feels like it's too much work to put you into the CRM because they're going to have to then discuss with their sales manager why they didn't close the deal, right? Well, your closing percentage is dropping. And that's an industry issue, is we look at data points sometimes too closely without understanding the information about the data we're inputting. So we want our people to get all of this data, gather the customer information. What are they looking for? How can we help them? But then we flip it on and say, well, why didn't you close it? Why didn't you make a sale?
Right.
So we can't have it both ways. We have to understand in today's world, each situation is going to be specific to that consumer. So this might be a long game close. This might never be a sale, but it might be a referral. You know what I mean? It might be, hey, I ended up not buying a Sea-Doo, but I told my neighbor, because I live in a lake community, about you because you were so helpful that they should go see you when they were in the market for a Sea-Doo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, in general, we are in the now business. Customer walked in a showroom with any business that you're trying to sell a product to. I need you to buy the product now, right? But big ticket items, sometimes it's about developing a relationship and selling two products later on instead of selling one immediately right now. I'll give you a great example.
Yes.
So as you're aware, I built the house in 2014. I did a ton of research on lawn and tractor equipment. I mean, I wanted the whole thing. I wanted the tractor. I wanted all the attachments. I mean, I was online forever. Decided on this John Deere unit. I found a dealer. I didn't want to go to a box store because they only have the consumer versions. I wanted a commercial grade piece of equipment. So I walk into the store. I walk right up to the front counter and I say, I need to see the 310 XT. The guy points at it right behind me. He goes, it's right there. Man, the halo comes from heaven and shines on the John Deere 310, right?
Yeah.
So I turn around and look at it, and it's a big letdown. I'm like, okay, well, here it is. I mean, I've been looking at it online. I guess I'll sit on it. So I sit on the tractor, and I'm like pressing the buttons, and I'm like, what is this? The guy looks up from his computer screen. He goes, oh, that's your PTO button. Looks back down at the computer. Okay. I said, you guys have the bagger attachments? Yeah, we could order them for you. Okay. So I'm kind of touched. I mean, I'm showing every sign that I'm extremely interested in this product, that I'm ready to drive this thing right out of your showroom, right?
You're asking buying questions, yes.
Right. And then it occurs to me, they don't employ salespeople. They employ guys to ring you up and to put in the part number when you need an air filter for your mower, right? So now all of that wind that was in my sails, I mean, I was pumped up, man. I went in there on 7 Red Bulls, ready to buy a tractor and go mow my lawn, right? I mean, I'm ready to go. I want this guy to put a 40 horsepower motor in the back, let me drive it back home on the highway and mow every piece of grass on the way there. I mean, I was ready.
All the center medians and everything, yeah.
Yeah. He takes all the wind out of my sails, and I'm like, all right, hey, man, thanks for your time. I'll let you know. Doesn't ask me anything. I drive right to Home Depot. I walk in. The music plays as I walk in the door. I get a sales associate that greets me. I walk right to the tractor. He says, let me tell you about the 3 models that we have. Boom, boom, boom. I walk out with a tractor, all the attachments. I bought the pre-mixed fuel. I mean, I got spotted, you know.
That guy got you, yeah.
But it's as easy as reading the buying signs. You know what I mean? And I'm not. I think my point in saying this is that as an organization, we have to find our people's strengths. Not every employee is a salesperson. So let's put our employees in the best positions to succeed. If you have a guy that is not really super people friendly, let's not make him the sales guy. Right? I mean, that's basic 101. That doesn't mean he's not a good employee. That just means he doesn't need to be the face of the franchise out front.
Yeah. My company does. My company does a good job at that. We will make sure.
I truly believe if you have good people, find out what their talents are. Not everybody can do everything. Not everybody can be cross-trained, right? Not everybody's that guy.
Right.
Find out what their talents are and put them in a position to succeed.
We're talking with automotive industry veteran and friend of mine, Dave Stalvey, on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, Friday live. You have a second to...
I also don't, just for your audience, I don't know that I feel old enough to be called a veteran of the automotive industry. I would just like to put that in there as a asterisk.
Well, I don't mean old. I just mean you've been doing it a long time. How many years have you been in the automotive industry?
I don't know. I got to carry the 2 plus the 1. I don't know, 20 years.
Yeah, see, you're a veteran. I'm a radio veteran. I was in radio for 15 years. I consider myself a radio veteran.
All right, so I guess I'm a car business veteran. What do you want me to tell you?
I've been in the car business for 10 years. Does that make that's not enough to be a veteran, I don't think.
I think in today's world it is.
Well, that's because people get a new job every 11 months now.
Yeah, right. You know what? That's a whole nother podcast that we can address, but I got a lot of thoughts on that too.
You got a lot of thoughts on a lot of things. That's another episode though. Hey, can we talk about one thing? We need to talk about something mostly that fits under the mostly category of automotive marketing. And that is pumpkin flavored things. Today's the first day of autumn here in New England. Well, it's the first day of autumn everywhere, I guess, right?
Well, not in Florida where we should all be living. But
yep. Isn't it still technically autumn?
Is it ever autumn in Florida?
No, but the weather doesn't change, but isn't it technically like the autumn solstice? What's it called? Equinox?
Listen, I don't know. I'm too busy working in the automotive industry to look at a calendar.
All right. Well, listen, today's the first full day of fall. It showed up at around 9-ish last night, I believe. And it's like 45 degrees today. And I had my heated seat on and I love it. I had the sunroof cracked and I'm wearing a long sleeve hoodie thing right now. So I love it. I love all the seasons. But what I don't agree with is all this pumpkin flavored hoopla. And it started earlier. Today's the first day of fall. So I do believe some of it is acceptable now, but it started like 3 weeks ago. And someone's like, ooh, the pumpkin spice lattes are back. And I'm like, dude, it's August. It's too early for pumpkin spice lattes. It's too early for pumpkin flavored beer. And by the way, pumpkin flavored beer is disgusting, FYI. But now we're going overboard. There's like pumpkin flavored Doritos. I mean, I don't know. Everything's pumpkin flavored. And I just think everyone needs to dial it back a notch, cool their jets, settle down, just take it down a level on the pumpkin stuff. It's not that amazingly good that you got to freak out about it.
Here's the thing, though. That was the best marketing job ever done by any company. You will never convince me otherwise, because pumpkin spice lattes, their marketing campaign, the orange and yellow colors, and then the leaves, and it's so pretty, and it tastes so nice and sweet, right? I mean, they sold us on that. I mean, they did a great job of that. What they failed to mention is what fall really is like in New England, which is a lot of work, wet leaves, cold mornings, hot afternoons, bagging the leaves, blowing the leaves in your neighbor's yard, smelling like gasoline from a 2-stroke blower motor. It's not all that great. And secondly, all these people that love pumpkin spice, have they ever carved a pumpkin and tried to eat the pumpkin? It doesn't taste like that. Pumpkin spice is cinnamon and sugar. Okay, guys, you're getting sold a bill of goods. Can we just take the name pumpkin out of it and just call it sweet flavored coffee? I mean, that's really what it is. They've sold everybody.
Wow. You're right. It is a marketing thing. I do feel like it's
great.
I feel like that's a bit of a negative Nancy way to look at it, though. You did you looked at all the negative sides of fall.
Yeah, but I flipped it on a script for the positivity of the marketing team and what they did.
Hold on. Oh, we got another. Jim McCarthy's trying to call in, but I don't know how to answer both calls at once. So
there's probably a button on your phone. Maybe Apple should do a better marketing job of showing you how to do a 3-way call.
I have a Samsung.
Well, that's why you have no marketing support.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with the pumpkin, the marketing, they do a good job, but then like everyone's trying to like hop on, I can't think of a specific example, but it's like all of a sudden we got pumpkin flavored Doritos and
well, no, I have a friend of mine. He's my tattoo artist, and I consistently send him the most ridiculous pumpkin flavored things I've seen. Pumpkin flavored jelly beans, pumpkin flavored Captain Crunch. These are things that exist in the world, right? Outside of the pumpkin flavored coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You've got pumpkin flavored Reese's peanut butter cups now. I mean, guys, I implore everyone, if you like the pumpkin spice, go to your local, grocery store, grab a pumpkin, carve it up, and just eat it. Just take a bite of it.
That's
and
gross.
Tell me if it tastes like what you think it tastes like.
And I'm going to be honest with you. This may be an unpopular opinion. I don't even like pumpkin pie.
That's a very, actually, yeah, I got to stop you there.
I don't like anything pumpkin flavored.
I'm not really sure how many subscribers this podcast has, but I'm pretty sure you just lost half.
You think that the pumpkin is a divisive issue? Like people are going to be like, F this guy, he doesn't like
pie. Yeah. Oh. The pumpkin pie. I mean, that's you're losing a lot of people right there, man. Pumpkin pie with a little whipped cream. Whew.
I didn't say I don't like ice cream and puppies. I said I don't like pumpkin,
No, you said you didn't like pumpkin pie, and we have it on record.
I have it on record. You don't have it on anything. Dave Stelvey, friend and automotive industry veteran, thank you for your time this morning. I'm sure you've got to go do something for work, so I will let you go.
I do. Thank you, Matthew, and continue doing the good work.
Yes, I'm just out here doing God's work. Thank you.
See you later, bud.
See you, Dave. There you go. Automotive professional Dave Stelvey joining me on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Jim McCarthy, former automotive professional and broadcast professional, podcast host, and just all around good guy and businessman trying to reach us. So let's see if Jim's here. Jim, are you on the line?
Hey.
Jim McCarthy, thank you for joining us. What do you want to talk about this morning?
Well, it's interesting that you're talking about car dealerships and people's unwillingness to help you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm shopping for a car as well.
So right now?
At the moment, it's kind of an ongoing thing, but eventually I'll pull the trigger.
Put the sales guy on the line. Let me talk to him.
Well, I'm not actually here right now at the dealership.
How's your experience going so far?
Believe it or not, I test drove a Jeep Gladiator the other day. Told the guy that we had to get in and out. I had to be at an appointment in 45 minutes, which, typically I always saw when I was in the car business as a smokescreen. And, 2 hours later, the guy would be signing up for a car. But the salesman was kind of like, he's like, whatever. And I got out of the test drive. I said, all right, I got to jump in my car and I got to go. He's like, all right, man. Yeah. You don't even want my number?
Yeah. Do you want my information?
Yeah. So I actually reached out to him in a text saying, hey, man, great to meet you. Let me know if anything comes up. Sure thing. I guess business is good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I wanted a Gladiator for a while, and then I ended up getting a Grand Cherokee L just because it was more practical for the family. But did he ask you what are the things about it you like? What are you going to use it for?
We talked a lot about life, and eventually I told him I was in the car business at one point in my life, and he I think that kind of cooled his jets maybe.
Right.
But at the same time, you should still ask the right questions, push the process forward. I asked him how many units does he sell a month, and he goes about 13. I said, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's any salesman worth his merit should be at least between 15 and 25. 15 on the low end, a month. But, he's been doing it for a year. I'm like, dude, for the amount of time you put in this business, you should be really just giving it your all, because it takes up a lot of your time. As a lot of people know, it's a lifestyle versus it really does overtake your life. So, at least push the process forward, even in the trades. I'm a part of B&I, which is a networking group around the world, business networking. And my people in my B&I chapter complain about how difficult it is to get tradespeople to not only show up to be a visitor at a meeting, but also sign up and become members. And I'm like, well, they don't need to right now. Here's what's happening in the world is that tradespeople, for whatever reason, they're just covered up. So I'm wondering if that's the same effect in the car business.
Right.
I know people in the car business that are just taking orders right now.
Right. Oh, well, we got 10 Gladiators coming in the next 3 months and they're all sold. So why put the effort in?
Right.
I've never
order takers.
I've never sold cars, but if I was that guy, I know, having been in the industry for 10 years, never having sold cars, but knowing enough about the industry, I would have tried to ferret it out from you that you are going to tow a camper with the Gladiator, right? I'm assuming you are going to use it to tow your camper. So
no, I mean, it was one. It's we have the camper. We have a primary tow vehicle that we use. It would be nice to have an additional. I liked having a pickup truck, but it was just for the amount of times that we towed with it and for it to be my daily driver, it just didn't make sense to have a V8 engine that just drank gas.
Right.
So that's why we did what we did. And traded in the truck, got something that my wife could drive. Courtney could drive a little bit easier. She wasn't really comfortable driving the truck, something that big. And she's very comfortable driving our primary tow vehicle. But, with that being said, a V6 engine is going to sip gas a little bit, more efficiently. And it's a good vehicle. It's a good utility vehicle.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I don't know what the hell I want. So.
But if you'd gotten that what you just told me out of you, if you'd gotten that information out of you, yeah, we might use it to tow. It won't be our primary vehicle. I'm going to use it a little bit as a pickup truck, a little bit of that. He could have said, okay, well, if you do decide to use it, here's the towing capacity. Here's what it can do. Here's the fuel mileage. Here's how big the bed is. Here's some of the bed accessories that might be helpful. Like there's a million things, questions, if he'd gotten out of you what you just told me that he could have used to help sell you on the vehicle. And then, hey man, listen, we don't have any of these things. You unlike you told us, you're in the industry. You know that no one has anything. A car comes off a truck and it's already sold, but that's going to happen anywhere you go. So when you do buy a vehicle, that guy wants to be able to know, well, when we do get a Gladiator in, or we find out there's one on our pipeline that's not sold, even if it's 6 months from now, oh, I got a guy. Let me call him.
And that takes some effort. It does. And I understand from the car salesman point of view, there's an element of being on the inside of their own bottle and not seeing perspective from just a worldly standpoint, but and also a customer standpoint. Yeah, I would love for you to keep in touch with me and be my guy in that world. But at the same time, these guys are just covered up with their backs against the wall. They're trying to make money. They're trying to make a living for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's generally a tough business. It really does take a lot of moxie and grit. And eventually, if you build up, you spend enough time in it, you're going to have a career. But a lot of people see it as a job.
Moxie.
And they're trained.
Good word.
But that's what it is. But
yeah.
At the same time, same thing with tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, all those types of people. I see a parallel here. Things are so good right now, and people, at least here in our part of the country, which is Middle Tennessee area in the southeast, things are so good right now. We're kind of insulated from all the other problems in the country, at least in our region. You cannot get an electrician to show up or return your calls.
Wow, because
they're just covered up. So I mean, it's like but that doesn't mean they should squander those opportunities. At least send a text back saying, "Hey, we're booked 3-4 weeks out." We'll certainly make recommendations for other people if you want it done quicker. Otherwise, we'd love to serve you. At least make that good first impression, that ongoing impression, because when it becomes a wartime economy, goodness gracious, man, you're going to be glad you did. That you did the due diligence and that created those relationships. Like David was saying, the relationships are the key. Those are the currency. That's the currency in this day and age.
You make a good point. It's peacetime right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy, but it's not going to be easy, and you got to get people in your pipeline and have those relationships and sort of prime the pump, and so you can get through that hard time.
Mm-hmm. They're going to remember how you treated them.
Absolutely.
They will remember. Oh, now you need me. Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the other guy who actually took the time to return my calls and explained why he was a little spread thin. And made me understand that, hey, I really do want to help you, but please bear with us. We have an overwhelming amount of business that's happening, but let's make sure you're taken care of. In a timely manner. And as I had a customer when I worked in Mercedes. I treated him well. I sold his wife a car. They loved the way I treated them. He came in on a Saturday which is a lot of people know in the car business, Saturday is one of the busiest days. If you don't sell a car on Saturday, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
He came in on a Saturday. He wanted to build his car. And I said, I was covered up. I probably had 4 appointments that day, yada, yada, yada. I said, listen, I really want to help you. I said, I can get somebody else for you if you like. I said, but I am covered up right now. I'm going, being pulled from both ends. And he says, you know what? What's a good day? What's your low activity day during the week? I said, Tuesday afternoon. He says, I'm coming back on Tuesday afternoon. Is that okay? I said, yeah.
Yeah, of
I said,
course.
yeah, but are you sure? Are you sure you don't want me to get somebody now that's free? He goes, no, I want to work with you. And because I took that time to explain to him and say, listen, I am just spread thin right now, and he was ordering your car. He wasn't buying today. You know what I mean? So he got it. The guy turned out to be the vice president for Kroger. Okay. So that's a good contact to have that sees you as favorable.
I'd say so.
How many referrals can he send you?
Yeah.
So many people these days see things as transactions, not relationships.
Yes.
And, you and I know that in the advertising world, there's two types of spots, relational and transactional.
Yeah. I use that all the time, but I tell people I thought of it.
I think it might be a Wizard of Ads thing.
Oh, I thought I stole it from you.
No, I got it from Wizard of Ads.
Oh.
I'm like, no, that makes sense.
Go ahead. Explain it. Explain the difference real quick.
Relational ads and in advertising and in just human interactions, you're going to have people that constantly, look at your social media feeds. You're going to have different guys. Their social media endeavors are going to be about building relationships. Let's say, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk gives his information, his useful tidbits. He just gives them away. He's one of the most prevalent business entrepreneurs out there. He's got one of the biggest followings in that world as far as being an entrepreneur and inspiring people. All of his tactics that he's used over the years, he hands it out like it's candy. He just gives it away. Then you'll get people that say, hey, I can make your business and your profile flourish and get you so many followers and yada, yada, yada. Download my course for only $99.99. That's a transaction. There's no relationship building there. I just want your money. I want you to make, to give you my course or my white paper or this or that, or get you into my funnel and then, get you into the rabbit hole that way. Vaynerchuk sees it the long game. Okay. He understands, and his following shows that. He's got over, almost 10 million Instagram followers.
Yeah. Versus
these other guys who are more transactional. They're kind of, hovering around the 1 million, 2 million. Some of these guys that are, other names in the industry, the Pepsis, if you will, of that category. Mm-hmm. Pepsis and RC Cokes. That's the difference, is that the relational ads are the ones that paint the picture. They win the heart before the mind decides.
One more thing. So, go ahead.
So, when you're shopping, comes time in life to buy a piece of jewelry. You think a jewelry store is going to advertise, hey, come in right now and get your engagement ring for 50% off? No. And a jewelry store is just saying, hey, when the time comes, we know how important it is to you to get the right piece of jewelry, the right ring. This is why we do the things we do. This is why we believe in what we do. This is why, the one thing that we believe about what we do is because we know how important this moment in your life is. So when that time comes, think of us, remember the old jewelry designs.
The jewelry we make is the jewelry we sell. Own an original.
Original at Jewelry Designs, right?
You want me to sing the jingle?
Sure.
Nah, it's not going to be good. I'm not going to sing it, but I remember it. I remember that's a long positioning statement to remember. The jewelry we make is the jewelry we sell. Own an original from Jewelry Design. Like, dude, I remember that from 25 years ago.
But you remember the jingle, which was a branding component as well.
The jewelry we make is the jewelry we sell. Own an original from Jewelry Design. Is that good?
That's exactly how that jingle went. And here we are 20 some odd years later, still being able to spit that out. Now, there's actually two positioning statements in that phrase. The jewelry we make is the jewelry we sell, and own an original.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go.
I had one more topic I wanted to cover before I ended the podcast. Do you want to stay
Sure.
on for that topic?
I probably got to run in about 5 minutes, but yeah, we can exhaust it.
We'll do it in 5 minutes. Okay. I saw on LinkedIn that Brookfield Volkswagen has announced that they are going to be closed on Sundays until further notice, that they've decided they're going to close on Sundays so their employees can spend more time with their families. So
Right.
the comments on LinkedIn are most overwhelmingly towards like, good for you. What a great move. It's great for employee morale. The customers will come to you when you're open. But there's a couple of comments that are like, okay, but if you want to make money in Brooklyn, and where I don't know how many Volkswagen dealers there are in Brooklyn, but I'm sure there's, in the New York Metro, there's probably enough where you can drive somewhere else if you're looking for a Volkswagen on Sunday. But there's some people who are totally against it. You're going to be turning away money. You're not going to hit your goals. What about the 5 cars you could have sold that day? But I thought it was great that they announced that they were closed on Sundays. When we were closed on holidays at my group for a while, we would always talk about it. Like we would say, so that our employees can enjoy much deserved time with their families, we will be closed on Memorial Day or, something like that, to try to kind of turn it into a positive. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if there's a mechanism on twofold mechanism in, if somebody wants to come by, what's the benefit statement of the importance to the consumer that you're closed on a Sunday? Hey, we want our employees to be home with their families, be able to rest. Here's why that's important to you. They're going to be much more well-rested. They're going to be recharged. Everybody needs their batteries recharged. And we'll be able to serve you a lot better because we are taking care of ourselves. And understand that you're buying from a company that's not about just, it's going to attract a certain kind of buyer, that appreciates that thing. And it's kind of planting a flag in the soil. I think it can work, well either way. But at the same time, you're going to have people who, are going to want to shop on Sundays. So what's the mechanism that while they're shopping, that they can use technology to get you engaged on Monday morning? Okay, hey, if you're really interested in this car, we may not be here now, but hit this QR code,
right,
and we'll contact you first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll start, we'll get you in for a test drive or whatever. Okay. The other guys, they just want to sell you a car. You're going to appeal to the transactional people that on a Sunday versus the relational-minded people on a Monday. So I've said before, we've got two Mercedes dealerships here in town, one of which I work very closely with, and they're more relationship-based. The other dealership is more transactional. All their prices are published. They're, aggressively priced and sometimes 10, 15, 20% off of MSRP. Typically, they even told me in the past that we're not going to try and adhere to market demand. We're just going to, keep on doing what we do and get the volume going. But for that, you're not going to be able to attract and retain talent. You're not going to have talented salespeople. You're not going to have people that are in it for a career. You're going to churn through people. You're going to get Best Buy rejects that come and sell these high dollar cars. How does that really help your customer?
Yeah.
In the long run, if you're selling a highline brand, a Mercedes, a Porsche, BMW, Audi, and you have somebody who barely even knows about the brand or can barely even relate to the customer, how does that help your brand in the long run? Sure, right now it helps you month to month, but over time, if you got somebody who understands a culture that puts the customer first and foremost. In order for us to put the customer first and foremost, our manager has to put, the front lines employees first and foremost. We're working for them, not the other way around. And that's the disconnect, in my opinion.
Jim McCarthy, I don't even know what to call you as your title because you do so much. Podcast guru, lighting genius, and
with a J.
With a J?
Yeah, genius with a J.
J-E, like spelled like jeans, Jeanous?
Jenuis, like, I'm stupid in a way. It's self-deprecating.
Automotive genius, but you can't spell genius. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Good talking to you.
Talk to you soon, bud.
Yeah.
There you go. Jim McCarthy on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. Let's take a quick break and then got a quick few more things to cover. Be right back. If you're thinking about starting your own podcast, let me tell you about Anchor. Not like the anchor that comes off a boat that helps the boat stay in place by like landing on the bottom of a lake or an ocean. Anchor, as in the platform that helps make your podcast easy. Anchor is owned by Spotify, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. So you record it, you put it on the Anchor, and then they blast it out to all the platforms people use to listen to podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all them other ones. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. And you know the old saying, if it's free, it's for me. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is anchor.fm to get started. Got one. We heard from Simone J on LinkedIn, who said, I laughed out loud. 7 Red Bulls ready to mow every lawn. She enjoyed Dave's comment there, and we appreciate it. All right, wrapping up this live episode of Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. We'll try and do it live again next Friday. We'll do it live. We'll try and do it live again next Friday. And yeah, I appreciate you listening. Oh, real quick, I wanted to have my buddy Lou Milano, who hosts the I-95 morning show. He's a co-host on a rock station morning show, the one that I did over the summer a couple of times. And I was going to have him on the podcast to discuss a non-automotive topic that I thought would be entertaining for you folks. So I asked him, and as it turns out, he can't do it because of his radio contract.
Hey, Matt.
Here's a voicemail he left me.
Hey, Matt Carey. It's Lou Milano from the I-95 Morning Show with Ethan, Lou, and Large Dave. And it says in my contract that I cannot appear on other shows without permission, but it has to be over 30 seconds for me to have been, in violation of the contract. So I just wanted to say hi and enjoy your show. And I hope everybody enjoys the automotive speak. 27 seconds.
There you go. That's the way to get it done if your company won't let you be on other podcasts. I don't know why they wouldn't. His company, Town Square Media, wouldn't let him come on this podcast. Not a huge crossover audience. People listening to the home of rock and roll, I-95, and then also happen to want to hear about automotive marketing. But anyway, thanks for calling in, Lou. We appreciate it. And thanks y'all for listening, calling, and contributing. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson.
Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson is brought to you by... Wait, this guy has sponsors? Oh, never mind. This sheet of paper's blank. No sponsors. That makes more sense. For updates, info, future episodes, and more, follow on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and connect on Frackle. You guys made that last one up. That's not even a thing, Frackle. Come on.